January 4th, 11:45 a.m., broad daylight, a life ends on West Washington Boulevard. January 13th, 9:15 p.m., an argument turns fatal on South Eberhard. January 14th, a 17-year-old bleeds out in a crashed car, leaving a trail of blood and fresh snow. This is just the first 2 weeks. In 2025, Chicago streets didn't just claim names, they raced futures. Fathers working their first week on the job, teenagers who never made it to graduation, veterans of the game who thought they'd seen it all. Some died at 11 in the morning, others at 2 in the afternoon. The sun didn't matter, the day of the week didn't matter. Drive-bys, walk-ups, ambushes with 4 shooters, 5 shooters, coordinated hits that looked like military operations. A grocery store, a gas station, an album release party, even a 6-year-old caught glass fragments from bullets that weren't meant for him. This isn't just statistics, these are real people, real sets, real blood on real concrete. From January to December, we're breaking down every loss, every neighborhood, every name the streets won't forget. Stay with us because this story, it doesn't get easier, it only gets more real. January 4th, 2025, Austin, Chicago. The clock hits 11:45 in the morning. Broad daylight on the 5200 block of West Washington Boulevard. Demario Davis, 30 years old, known as Rio, repping Turbo Gang, sits inside his car. The weekend is just starting, but for Rio, it's about to end. A car rolls up, slow and calculated. A figure steps out, no hesitation. Gunfire shatters the glass, rounds tearing into the metal and into the man inside. Rio was hit multiple times, head and body. Paramedics rush him to Mount Sinai Hospital, but the damage is done. The streets don't wait for the sun to go down to take a life. He's pronounced dead, another seat empty, another name etched into the concrete of the West Side. The shooter, already gone. No arrest, no custody. Just a car riddled with holes and a family left with the silence. January 13th, 2025, Greater Grand Crossing, Chicago. Night falls over the 7500 block of South Eberhard Avenue. DeWine Jones, 24 years old, known to the streets as Gunner from Woogle World, is standing right on his own block. It starts with words, a verbal altercation, an argument that should have stayed just that, but at 9:15 p.m., the talking stops. The other man reaches for a handgun. Shots ring out, hitting Gunner several times at close range. He's rushed to Jackson Park Hospital as doctors fight to pull him back from the edge, but by 10:18 p.m., the battle is over. Gunner is pronounced dead, another life traded for a moment of anger. No one is in custody. The shooter disappeared into the Chicago night, leaving behind a block in mourning and a cycle that never seems to break. January 14th, 2025, Andersonville, Chicago. The north side is quiet, covered in a blanket of fresh snow, but in the alley on the 5400 block of North Ashland Avenue, the silence is broken by the sound of an engine revving and a car crash into a garage. Police arrive at 9:15 p.m. to find a 26-year-old man bleeding from his shoulder and neck. He's in critical condition, but he's able to point the officers toward the car. Inside, they find the real tragedy. Tyshawn Johnson, only 17 years old, repping 400 E's, sits motionless in the passenger seat, a single gunshot wound to the head. He's pronounced dead right there in the cold. This wasn't an Andersonville hit. Neighbors didn't hear a single shot. The streets say the shooting happened somewhere else. A running battle that ended with a desperate flight to the north side. One witness caught a figure on security footage, sprinting through the snow faster than anyone he'd ever seen. The next morning, the only thing left behind was a trail of blood staining the white snow in the alley. 17 years old, a life that barely started, ended in the back of a crashed car. No arrests, no suspects, just another young soul lost to the city. January 19th, 2025, Greater Grand Crossing, Chicago. The city is still dark at 3:45 in the morning. On the 7400 block of South State Street, the silence is shattered by the sound of a heated argument. Ulysses Green, 41 years old, known as Tro, Jet Gang, is standing outside, locked in a confrontation that is about to turn lethal. The words turn into action. The assailant pulls a weapon and fires, hitting Tro multiple times before jumping into a black vehicle and disappearing into the night. Tro was rushed to the University of Chicago Medical Center, Doctors do what they can, but at 4:13 a.m. he's gone. Another name added to the toll of a violent weekend. But this time, the shadows didn't hide everyone. Police moved fast. 33-year-old Marcus Womack Jr. is caught and charged with murder. For Jet Gang, the argument ended in gunfire. A life taken in the early morning hours, leaving the family to pick up the pieces while the legal system begins to grind. January 28, 2025, Auburn Gresham, Chicago. It's just before 2 in the afternoon on the 8500 block of South Morgan Street. Eric Vaughn, 28 years old, known as E3, repping Gator Gang, is standing on the sidewalk of the very block where he lives. The quiet of the afternoon is shattered when a car pulls up and stops. 4 people jump out, not 1, not 2. 4 shooters, all with guns drawn. They open fire in a coordinated hit, a hail of lead that gives E3 no chance to run, no chance to hide. He's hit multiple times, dropping right there on the concrete outside his home. When the smoke clears, the shooters are gone. First responders arrive, but there's nothing they can do. E3 is pronounced dead at the scene, the sidewalk marked by shell casings and the weight of another loss for Gator Gang. 4 shooters, broad daylight, no one in custody. Area 2 detectives are left combing the block for answers, while the streets record another hit that was clearly personal. February 11, 2025, Roseland, Chicago. The early hours of Tuesday morning are cold and quiet on the 9900 block of South Princeton Avenue. Wakey Felder, 30 years old, known as Key Money, G, or Jack Boy, repping Thought Boys and 757, originally from Rock Nation, is standing outside as the clock strikes 1 a.m. The silence is broken by the sound of an engine. A red vehicle cuts through the darkness, rolling down the block, windows down. A flash of gunfire erupts from the moving car, a drive-by that catches Key Money G off guard. He's hit multiple times across his body. By the time the red car disappears into the night, the damage is already done. He's pronounced dead right there on the pavement, another soul claimed by the far side before the sun could even rise. No arrests, no suspects, just a red car in the shadows and another member of the set gone too soon. March 2nd, 2025, Austin, Chicago. It's a Sunday afternoon on the 5400 block of West Walton Street. Jerry Partee, 48 years old, known to the streets as Greasy, repping Long City, is standing on the sidewalk, the day moving slow. At 2:23 p.m., the rhythm of the block changes. A vehicle pulls up, the metal gleaming in the afternoon light. Someone inside levels a weapon. Gunfire erupts, hitting Greasy in the chest and right arm before he can even find cover. He's rushed to Mount Sinai Hospital, but the streets had already made their decision. He's pronounced dead, another veteran of the game taken out in broad daylight. At 48, he's seen a lot, but in Austin, no amount of time makes you bulletproof. The vehicle speeds off, blending back into the city traffic. No one in custody, no suspects, just another Sunday shattered by lean. March 10th, 2025, Austin, Chicago. The afternoon rush is in full swing on the 5000 block of West Madison Street. James Pittman, 24 years old, known as Lil James, repping Sang Gang with roots in both KMG and Living G, stands on a sidewalk. It's 5:10 p.m., a time when the streets are usually crowded and eyes are everywhere. But that doesn't stop the cycle. A vehicle pulls up to the curb. A passenger doors swings open. A figure steps out, weapon in hand, and lets off a barrage of gunfire. Lil James is hit multiple times, collapsing as the shooter jumps back in and the car peels away. He's rushed to Loretto Hospital, but time is running out fast. At 5:29 p.m., less than 20 minutes after the first shot, he's pronounced dead. For Sang Gang, it's another young soldier gone. For the West Side, it's another bloodstain on a busy thoroughfare. No one is in custody. The shooter vanished into the rush hour traffic, leaving the neighborhood to deal with the echoes of the shots. March 22nd, 2025, Grand Boulevard, Chicago. The morning sun is up over the 4700 block of South Evans Avenue. Charlamagne Johnson, 26 years old, known as Big Mex, repping Pockettown, is standing on a sidewalk. It's just past 11 a.m., a time when the neighborhood should feel at ease, but the streets don't keep a schedule. 3 people approached him. They don't come for talk. They come for a hit. In a sudden burst of violence, all 3 open fire. Big Mex is caught in the crossfire of a coordinated attack, dropping to the pavement as the shooters flee the scene. He's rushed to the University of Chicago Medical Center, but the injuries are too severe. He later dies, another name added to the ledger of the South Side. 3 attackers, broad daylight, another life cut short. Another family left with the echoes of 11 a.m. gunfire. April 21st, 2025, South Austin, Chicago. The afternoon sun is still hanging over the 4900 block of West Hubbard Street. Royal Brown, 24 years old, known as Law Boss, repping Lavender Mob and FSG, is caught in the sights of a shooter at 4:23 p.m. The quiet of the block is shattered by a hail of gunfire. Law Boss is hit multiple times, rounds tearing through his body. In a desperate act of survival, he manages to get himself to a nearby hospital, a final lonely drive for his life, but even a boss can't outrun those kinds of wounds. He's pronounced dead shortly after arriving, the news hitting the west side like a physical blow. Another young life lost in the shadow of the train tracks. Another name added to the list of the fallen for FSG. No one is in custody. The shooter left no trace behind on Hubbard Street, just spent shell casings and a story that ended far too soon. April 29th, 2025, Austin, Chicago. It's 11:35 in the morning at Sanford Foods on the 500 block of North Laramie Avenue. Armantia Alexander, 32 years old, known as Monty from Wickedtown, is at work standing near the meat counter at the back of the store. He's only been on the job for 3 weeks, trying to provide for his 3 children, but the streets don't care about a fresh start. A masked figure bursts through the front doors. He doesn't look at the register, he doesn't demand money, he makes a beeline straight for the back of the store. A targeted execution. Gunfire erupts inside the grocery store, hitting Monty in the head and the body. The shooter and an accomplice vanish into the morning air before the echoes of the shots even fade. Monty is rushed to Mount Sinai Hospital, but the damage is too much. He's pronounced dead, leaving behind 3 kids in a community in shock. Even the local alderman says it. This wasn't a robbery. This was personal. Just down the street, kids from the local charter school show up for after-school snacks, only to find the doors locked and the store draped in police tape. No suspects, no arrests, just a father gone and another heavy day for Wickedtown. May 13th, 2025, near West Side, Chicago. The night is heavy over the 1000 block of West 14th Street, just steps away from the UIC campus. Pierre Moore, known as Pierre or Dro, repping 757 with deep roots in Rock Nation, is walking down the sidewalk just before 11:30 p.m. The silence is shattered by the low hum of a dark-colored SUV rolling up beside him. It's not just one shooter. 5 gunmen leap out of a black Infiniti, no plates, no warnings. Cigar in a brutal display of overkill, all 5 open fire at once, a concentrated storm of lead that hits Pierre several times in the body. The shooters don't linger, they pile back into the Infiniti and floor it. UIC police catch a glimpse of the vehicle as it screams toward the southbound I-90/94 expressway, disappearing into the city's concrete veins. Pierre is rushed to Stroger Hospital, but the fight is over before it began. He's pronounced dead. Another casualty in a war that doesn't care about school zones or boundaries. For 757, it's a heavy loss. For the near west side, it's a reminder that even under the city lights, the shadows move fast. No suspects, no arrests, just 5 shadows and a black Infiniti and a block left echoing with gunfire. June 25th, 2025, North Lawndale, Chicago. The sun is just starting to dip below the horizon on the 1200 block of South Springfield Avenue. Dillard Florence, 46 years old, known as Dillo, repping OTM, is standing on a sidewalk just before 8 p.m. In the fading light, a figure approaches. No words are traded, only lead. A single precise shot catches Dillo in the neck, dropping him instantly as the shooter fades back into the neighborhood. An ambulance screams toward Mount Sinai Hospital, but a wound like that doesn't give much time. He's pronounced dead. A veteran of the block taken out on a quiet Wednesday evening. At 46, he'd survived years in the city, but on the west side, the danger never truly retires. No arrests were reported. No suspects in sight. Just another name for the OTM history books, and a family left with a void that can't be filled. June 28th, 2025, Woodlawn, Chicago. It's 4 p.m. on a Saturday at a gas station on the 800 block of East 63rd Street. The station is crowded, men hanging out, families stopping for supplies. Keenan Campbell, 31 years old, known as Rail, repping Jarrell City. It's inside the business when the atmosphere turns deadly. Two gunmen burst through the doors. They don't care who's in the way. They open fire, the sound of gunshots trapped within the small space, glass shattering and metal tearing. Rail is hit multiple times as he drops to the floor, but the carnage doesn't stop with him. A 25-year-old is hit in the leg, a 40-year-old is grazed in the head. And in the middle of the chaos, a 6-year-old boy is struck by flying glass fragments, his childhood shattered by a war he didn't start. Rail is rushed to the University of Chicago Medical Center, but he doesn't make it. He's pronounced dead. Another loss for Jarrell City in a cycle that continues to claim its own. The other victims survive and the young boy is taken to Comer Children's Hospital, physically okay but scarred by what he saw. Two gunmen, a crowded store. No mercy, no one is in custody. Area detectives are left to piece together the fragments of a Saturday afternoon that turned into a massacre. July 2nd, 2025, River North, Chicago. The night is supposed to be a celebration. At Arthur's Restaurant and Lounge on West Chicago Avenue, the red carpet is rolled out for rapper Mellow Bucks' album release party. The air is filled with music and the energy of a Hollywood lifestyle, but in Chicago, the spotlight often draws the shadows. Just before 11 p.m., as the crowd spills out onto the sidewalk, a black Honda Accord circles the block, the predator scouting its prey. When it comes back around, the celebration turns into a massacre. Gunfire erupts, a terrifying mix of handgun and rifle rounds tearing through the crowd. In a matter of seconds, 18 people are hit. The sidewalk, once covered in a red carpet, is now soaked in real blood. Among the fallen is Leon Henry, 25 years old, known as El Peasy, repping NLMB. He's hit in the head and pronounced dead at Stroger. Beside him, Devontae Williams, So 23, known as Vontae from Walk Gang and TTD, takes a fatal round to the chest. Two women, Taylor Walker and Aviance King, are also caught in the rain of lead, losing their lives before the holiday weekend even begins. 4 dead, 14 wounded. A 6-year-old screams, lost in the sirens. The police say the target was likely the rapper herself, a woman tied to the NLMB set. But the shooters didn't care who they struck. They fired into the heart of the crowd and sped east, disappearing toward the expressway. The aftermath is a chaotic scene of bloody footprints, discarded hats, and sobbing witnesses at a nearby gas station. It's the second time a mass shooting has touched this very address, proving that in this city, even the safe spaces can become killing fields when the cycle of the streets catches up. No suspects, no arrests, just a red carpet soaked in blood, and the city left wondering how far is too far. July 3rd, 2025, South Deering, Chicago. The holiday weekend is just beginning, but on the 9900 block of South Bensley Avenue, the atmosphere is anything but festive. It's 1:20 in the afternoon, broad daylight on the far side. Reginald Edwards, 21 years old, known as Geno, repping Zulon from Chestnut, is standing outside right near his home. A vehicle cuts through the afternoon quiet, pulling up alongside him. No words are exchanged, no warnings given. Someone inside levels a weapon and lets off a barrage of gunfire. Geno is hit multiple times, collapsing on the pavement of his own block as the car speeds away. He's rushed to the University of Chicago Medical Center, but the clock is ticking too fast. At 1:55 p.m., just 35 minutes after the first shot, he is pronounced dead, 21 years old. Another young soul from Zooland, gone before the summer could truly heat up. No arrests were made. The shooters disappeared into the city, leaving a family to face the 4th of July with an empty chair and a heavy heart. July 6, 2025, South Deering, Chicago. The afternoon sun is still high on the 9600 block of South Brennan Avenue. Democrete Davis, only 19 years old, known as Meek, repping FBG 157, is on the block just before 5 p.m. The quiet of the evening is shattered when gunfire erupts. Meek is caught in a hail of lead, taking 2 rounds to the chest and 3 more to his right leg. 5 shots, all finding their mark. He's rushed to the University of Chicago Medical Center in critical condition. Doctors fight to stabilize him, but the damage is too deep. He later slips away, another 19-year-old life cut short before it ever really began. For FBG 157, it's another heavy hit in a summer that's already running red. Another name for a t-shirt, another headline for the South Side. No suspects, no arrests. Just the sound of 5 shots echoing through South Deering, and a family left to mourn a son who never made it out of his teens. July 10th, 2025, Armour Square, Chicago. The city is deep in the shadows of 2 a.m. on the 3700 block of South Wells Street. Jeremy Miller, 35 years old, known to the streets as Whitey or Tyson, repping MTG 039 and 30 Boys, is standing outside with another man. The quiet of the early morning is ripped apart by gunfire. No one knows where the shots came from or what sparked the violence, but when the smoke clears, 2 men are down. Whitey is hit in the chest, a fatal strike. He's rushed to the University of Chicago Medical Center, but the wound is too much. He's pronounced dead, a veteran of MTG taken out in the dead of night. The second man, 30 years old, is luckier. He takes a round to the left arm and is listed in good condition at the same hospital. He survives to tell the story, but the streets usually keep their secrets. No arrests have been reported. No motive, no suspects, just a 35-year-old name added to the mounting toll of the South Side, and a block left wondering who was watching from the dark. August 10, 2025, Woodlawn, Chicago. The sun is just starting to peek over the horizon at 5:20 a.m. on the 6600 block of South Cottage Grove Avenue. The city is usually at its quietest then, but in an alleyway tucked behind the main drag, the silence is shattered. Dominique Hogan, 34 years old, known as Domo, repping 600, is in the alley when a figure emerges from the morning shadows. There's no back and forth, no chance to move. The unknown assailant opens fire, hitting Domo several times. When the police arrive, they find him right there on the pavement. There's no need for an ambulance. He's pronounced dead at the scene. Domo was a veteran of the streets, a name known to the set, but at 34 he was taken out in a lonely alleyway before the rest of the neighborhood even woke up for a Sunday morning. The shooter vanished before the first sirens could be heard. No one is in custody, and the motive remains locked in the silence of that Woodlawn alley. August 13, 2025, Austin, Chicago. It's 6:15 p.m. on the 5000 block of West Madison Street, the same stretch of road where the West Side rush is still moving heavy. Kevin Watson, 40 years old, known to the streets as Tug, repping Sane Gang, with roots in LMG, is in a parking lot when the vibe shifts. A vehicle cuts through the lot, slowing down as it approaches him. A window rolls down and an occupant opens fire. Tug is hit in the chest, the force of the round dropping him right there in the lot. He's rushed to Mount Sinai Hospital, but the damage to his chest is too severe. At 6:52 p.m., less than 40 minutes after the car pulled up, he's pronounced dead. At 40, Tug was an older head for the set, but age doesn't provide armor in Austin. He was taken out just blocks from where he lived in a brazen evening drive-by that saw the shooters disappear back into the West Side grid. No arrests, no suspects, just another sign gang name etched into the pavement on Madison Street. September 25th, 2025, West Garfield Park, Chicago. The night is heavy on the 4000 block of West Wilcox Street. It's around 10:10 p.m. when the sound of gunfire cuts through the air, followed by the sudden eerie silence of an empty sidewalk. Jonell Austin, 34 years old, known as Chico, repping D Block 4000, is found unresponsive on the concrete. He's been hit multiple times across his body, the shots fired from close enough to ensure he didn't have a chance to walk away. Police and paramedics arrive to find Chico clinging to life. They rush him to Mount Sinai Hospital, but the streets had already claimed him. He's pronounced dead shortly after arrival. Another member of D Block gone on a quiet Thursday night in the heart of the West Side. No one saw the shooters. No one heard the argument, just an unresponsive man on a sidewalk he knew well. No one is in custody. Area detectives are left looking for answers on a block that has seen too much blood. September 30th, 2025, East Garfield Park, Chicago. It's 11:06 a.m. on the 2900 block of West Harrison Street. The morning is in full swing, but the daylight provides no protection. Jamar Griffin, 24 years old, known as J Money, repping Hob Mob, is on the block when the rhythm of the street breaks. A lone man approaches him, moving with purpose. There's no vehicle mentioned, no drive-by, just a direct walk-up in the middle of the morning. The shooter opens fire, hitting J Money multiple times before vanishing into the neighborhood. J Money is rushed to Mount Sinai Hospital. Doctors work to stabilize him, but the wounds are too much. He later dies, another young life from Hob Mob extinguished before noon. At 24, he was in the prime of his life, but on Harrison Street, a Tuesday morning can turn into a final moment in the blink of an eye. No arrests, no suspects, the shooter walked up, handled his business, and walked away into the city. October 14, 2025, Grand Boulevard, Chicago. The night is coming to a close on the first block of West 44th Street. It's 11:35 p.m. when the silence of the residential stretch is shattered. Dominic Messiah Gibson, 28 years old, known as Domo, repping Mafia Town and Tricker Gang, is the target. The violence is swift and surgical. When the smoke clears, Domo is found lying on the pavement with a single, devastating gunshot wound to the head. There was no time for a hospital run. By the time police and paramedics arrived on the scene, it was already over. He was pronounced dead right there on the street, far from his home on South Wood Street. At 28, Domo was a known figure in Mafia Town, but even the strongest ties couldn't shield him from a late-night hit in Grand Boulevard. The precision of the shot suggests he never saw it coming. No witnesses have stepped forward. No one is in custody. Area detectives are left combing the block for cameras or clues, while Mafia Town mourns another loss in the dead of night. October 21st, 2025, West Garfield Park, Chicago. The school day is just letting out at 2:30 p.m. on the 4100 block of West Avenue. It's the kind of afternoon where the streets should be filled with students heading home, but the sound of the bell is replaced by the crack of gunfire. David Mason, only 16 years old, known as Lil Dave, repping B-Gang and the Harlem Boys, is near the sidewalk when he is targeted. The shooter doesn't hesitate, hitting the teenager multiple times. Lil Dave is rushed to Mount Sinai Hospital, his life hanging by a thread. But 16 years isn't enough time to survive that kind of trauma. He is pronounced dead. Another child of the West Side lost to the cycle before he could even finish high school. The investigation is being handled as a homicide, but the details are thin. No one saw where the shooter came from, and no one saw where they went. No one is in custody. For B-Gang, it's a young life cut short. For West Garfield Park, it's a Tuesday afternoon that ended in a crime scene. November 21st, 2025, near Northside, Chicago. It's 4:30 on a Friday afternoon in the 600 block of West Division Street. This isn't a street corner or an alley. The violence follows Joey Woods right inside a residence. Joey Terrell Woods, known as T-Baby, repping OTE, is inside the apartment when a shot rings out. A single bullet catches him in the chest, a devastating wound in a place that should have been a sanctuary. He is rushed to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, but at 22, his time runs out. He is pronounced dead, leaving OTE to mourn a young member taken just blocks away from where he lived. The circumstances inside that apartment remain a mystery. No mention of a break-in, no mention of a struggle, just a life ended in the middle of a Friday afternoon. No one is in custody. Area 3 detectives are left to sift through the silence of the building to find out who pulled the trigger. December 13th, 2025, East Garfield Park, Chicago. The winter chill is settled over the west side at 3:05 in the morning. On the 700 block of North Lawndale, the heart of his set's territory, the silence is broken by a gunshot. Antoine Jones, 24 years old, known as Suge, repping MMG 700, is struck in the chest. There is no waiting for an ambulance. In the desperate cold of the streets, his friends scoop him up and floor it toward the hospital. They drop him off at Stroger Hospital, a final act of loyalty, but the damage is done. Suge is pronounced dead, a loss that hits the 700 block hard. He was just 24, living only a few miles away on West Flournoy, but he died on a turf he claimed. No one is in custody. The car that dropped him off disappeared into the night, and the block on North Lawndale remains silent about who pulled the trigger in the pre-dawn darkness.